Welcome to ILTV's Insider. I'm Aaron Porras, and today, the controversy du jour, home demolitions. For decades, Israel has used a policy in the West Bank of razing any house, structure, or land, the inhabitants of which committed violent offenses. And thousands of properties have been destroyed. Israel arguing that the demolitions work as a deterrent towards or against future terror attacks. But the regulation was adopted from the British mandatory authorities, and the Brits have long revoked this practice, which today has become increasingly unpopular and arguably indefensible, both morally and legally speaking.
The EU's position on Israel's settlement policy and activities, including in East Jerusalem, is well known. Such actions as forced transfers, evictions, demolitions, and confiscations of homes will only escalate an already tense environment.
So is Israel within its rights to commit these demolitions? And even if so, are they worth it? Joining me to discuss, Israeli journalist, author of Industry of Lies, and attorney Ben-Dor Yamini. And below, Colonel in the Reserves, Dr. Danny Tirza, former head of the Strategic Planning Unit for Judea and Samaria within the IDF Central Command. Thank you both so much for being with us. It's a pleasure. Colonel Tirza, I'll start with you. Make the case. Why are demolitions useful or even necessary?
Welcome. Good afternoon. I have to correct you because we are not using it usually and not for any violence. We're doing it only for terrorists that try to commit or committed terror attacks or suicide bombers. And we are using it in a frame that we are trying all the time to detain terror attacks. As you know, you cannot be in the head of the terrorist. Terrorist is not thinking that he's going to commit any terror attack, and by that he will change the political attitude or the political situation in the area. He's not going to win any war. He's trying to achieve something that is for his own pride or his family pride, or for his legacy, to show that he is committed to the ideology of his people, and he is ready to sacrifice his life for these ideas. And therefore, you cannot punish a suicide bomber. What punish can do for him if he created this suicide and he is dead? What you can do is only trying to prevent it by detaining him, that his family will suffer from that, and this family will not gain anything good by doing this terror attack. We don't like it. We don't want to do it. We're against harming people that are innocent, and we are doing it only in the right proposal and in the right balance, that we won't harm people that are living near it. We won't harm the family if the family didn't know or the family tried to prevent this terror attack. But in a lot of cases, we hear that the family is trying to stop this terrorist. And if they are doing so, of course, we won't demolish the house. What we are trying to do is to find a way that you can prevent these terror attacks, and there is no other way that I know that you can do it.
So, Ben-Dor, I want to bring you in. First of all, how do you respond to Colonel Tirza?
Oh, well, I must tell you that, if the demolition, if I knew that it's going to deter terrorists, I would be, of course, in favor of it. But according to our experience, and not only according to our experience, I know that there were at least one committee that was appointed by the chief of the army, Bughi Ya'alon, and he appointed General Udi Shani in order to check, is it useful? Is it efficient? And the outcome was that no, it doesn't really help, it doesn't really deter. That's one. Second, there is one research that was conducted in university. I'm not the one who is trusting so much academic research, because we have a problem with the academia, with this kind of progressive academia. But in this case, In this case, this research was conducted by a settler. Wow. I mean, a right-winger, woman, academic, and according to her, no, it doesn't help. She concluded the same. I mean, it didn't really help. That's two. And three, I must tell you, the whole idea of radical Islam, we have to bear in mind, is destruction. This is the idea. I mean, they don't mind about destruction. Look at the Hamas. They don't have a problem to sacrifice so many people in order to create more destruction. Look at Hezbollah, look at Taliban, look at Al-Shabiba, look at so many radical Islam movements. They don't mind. So what are we doing? I mean, what are we doing? We are giving them something that they don't care about. I mean, maybe some people are suffering, some children who have no idea what is going on. But generally speaking, the people who commit those terror acts, they don't mind about it. And the people who send them do not mind about it. And just as Nasrallah said just a week ago, that we don't care. The only one thing that we want to achieve is public opinion in the West, because this is the best way to defeat Israel. We do not have to give them what they want. That's why I'm not that much enthusiastic about it, because I'm not sure that this is the best measure in order to fight terror.
So, Colonel, I'd like you to respond, especially to some of the arguments. I mean, you mentioned how if the family tried to prevent the attack, then the IDF would try not to follow through with the demolition. But again, what do you say to the arguments that either way, it is a form of collective punishment? Many critics arguing that under the Fourth Geneva Convention, such collective punishment and home demolitions are war crimes.
Well, we are not doing any collective punishment. We're doing it in the right balance. And this is the main thing in Israel. Not to say, no, you cannot do it, but do it in the right balance. What is the right balance? The right balance says that if the terrorists own this property, if there are no other people that are living in this property, if the demolition will not harm the neighbors, or they will not harm the other parts of the building. So in some places, we are not demolishing the house. What we are doing is just closing it in a way that it cannot be used again for a long time. We're trying in a way to do something that people would think before they are going to do any terror attack. I will say to you that every terrorist has another motivation. It's not only that he is going to do a terror attack. He has something wrong in his life, something wrong in his family, something that he wants to clear by being the hero, by being the shaheed, by being the man that sacrificed his life. No normal man is going to sacrifice his life for nothing. And therefore, we are trying to do something that will stop the man or prevent this terror attack before it happens. I don't know if you have other solutions. That's the way we're trying to do it, but all the time in the right balance, not to harm innocent people in the area, not to harm the other parts of the building, not to harm the other parts of the family.
So, Ben-Dror, Colonel Tirza is talking about, and he mentioned that this is the most effective means that we know of today to deter terrorism. I myself have very recently read reports from the United States, from Chicago, and you have also mentioned other academic research papers that have said that, especially with respect to suicide attacks, home demolitions have worked as a deterrence. But you're arguing that they're counterproductive because terror groups typically don't care about the destruction. I'd like to ask you if you think that goes even more so in terms of counterproductivity, that it is contributing to terrorism. Is it inspiring more terrorists than it is deterring?
No, it's not my argument. The research that I mentioned, maybe I was misunderstood, is not supporting house demolition, is not, because it does not really deter. It was the conclusion of the very specific research that I mentioned. But no, I'm not saying that it's going to encourage terror. It's not the case. I mean, they don't care. I mean, many times we are trying to explain or to give reasons to people who commit terror acts. Let's not try to do it. I mean, they are working out of belief, out of fanatism, out of many other things, but it's not because of revenge, not because of poverty, as so many people say, not because of that they are looking for liberation. Not at all. I mean, they are not freedom fighters. They are totally addicted to hatred. That's what they are, and we have to face it. So it doesn't make any difference if one more house is demolished or not. So this is not, but generally speaking, no, I don't think it's the term. And if somebody will prove to us, to all of us, that this is one of the effective measures in order to prevent terror, I would support it. I'm not against it because of moral reasons, because it's not allowed, or because it will. No, I'm not sure that it's efficient. That's all. I mean, that's my main point.
So, Colonel Tirta, back to you. What evidence, and I'm assuming some sort of study has been done internally within the IDF, what sort of evidence is there to support this continued practice? Is there any sort of proof that shows that this does work as a deterrent?
Yes, there was a research that made by the Israeli Secret Service that was given to the Supreme Court about hundreds of terrorists that they interview in the jails that were in some way, they said that this action can, in a way, stop them in the way to the terror attack. But I agree with Bendro because it's not the fight between us and the organization. The organization doesn't care at all. It's a thing that you're doing to prevent the specific man, the man that is going to go out, blow up himself, kill other innocent people in his way. And that's the only thing that I know that can deter him.
Now, I understand that in 1968, legal advisor to the Israeli Foreign Minister Theodore Meron advised the Prime Minister's office against the use of this practice. He argued that it would be, again, he argued that it violated the Fourth Geneva Convention in terms of protecting civilians of war. Bendro, you said that you don't actually mind that it is morally ambiguous or
I don't mind. I do think that the legal experts will find a way to legitimize it if it was efficient. To my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, by the way, maybe the last research that was mentioned by Colonel Tirza, maybe they will prove that it is efficient. And if it is, I will support it. But to speak with us about the Geneva Convention when the United States is bombing endlessly in some parts of Pakistan and, of course, Afghanistan. So, I mean, to tell us not to fight terror, to tell us not to do it, I mean, that's not the reason. That's not the way in order to tell us what to do and not what to do. What I'm saying is just, let's check. Is it efficient or is it not? And if it is efficient, I don't mind. I will find the way to overcome the legal obstacles. That's all. I mean, but if it is not efficient, and if what we do is just to give them what they want, which means destruction, no, I don't want to give it to them. But if it does deter, yes, I will go with Tirza and say, let's go on it, for it.
Colonel Tirza, are there other practices that are intended to deter terrorist acts that are attempted before a house demolition?
After the terror attack was created, you cannot do anything. There are no other ways.
Are there preemptive?
Before,
Because again, the idea that as a punishment your home might be demolished is being argued that is a deterrence. Are there any other deterrents that are waged as a preemptive baton, you could say, to beat back a terrorist act?
Well, we thought that we can do something to the family. There were some ideas in the parliament, in the Knesset, to let these people, or to take their identity card if they are in Israelis, or to send them away to Jordan or to Lebanon, the families. But really, that's really a fight against the family and not a thing that can determine the terror before it's done. I don't know any real good thing that you can do to stop this terrorist before he's doing this terror attack by showing him that it will do something. As I really believe that if this is not a productive way, we won't use it. I don't know. We're not doing it only to harm the family. Of course, we don't want it. We're doing it only in the way that we are trying to stop this terror attack.
All right. Is there, and I know you mentioned again, Colonel Tilta, that this is, to your knowledge, the best method that we have under our employ in Israel. Are there other methods that are being spoken about, that are being brought up and proposed?
Yes, there are. You don't give, if the terrorist is committed a terror attack, of course, you don't give permits to his family to work in Israel. You don't give them any benefits that people can have. Of course, you don't harm them, but you don't give them benefits, but it doesn't work. The main thing, or the only thing that you can do, is to show that if someone is harming innocent people in Israel, you are trying, his family is in danger.
Ben-Dror, is there some sort of system of punitive actions that you'd like to see Israel attempt, other than home demolitions?
Well, just to remind us all, the war of Israel against terror is quite effective, generally speaking. I mean, look at the Second Intifada and the huge wave of terror that we all faced. I mean, Israel eventually succeeded. Let's not forget it. And when we see what happened here in the last 10 years, I mean, we have less and less terror. So it's not that I can suggest something which was not already on the table. I mean, yes, they are working well. Let's not forget it. Let's not forget it. I mean, how many terror operations we have? I mean, it's almost zero. And when they are coming with a knife or once or twice a year with a pistol or a gun, I mean, in most cases, they fail. Generally speaking, you can see the graph of terror. Yes, Israel is handling it in the best way, considering the circumstances that we are facing. So I'm not sure that I have a good advice, because of course we need to find a way to solve the conflict and so on and so on. But we are not going to speak about the political aspects of the story, which we will discuss, I guess, in another interview.
Is it possible? Oh yeah, go ahead, Colonel.
Just as the last year, the Israeli army and the Israeli Secret Service prevented about 500 terror attacks by the intelligence, by working nights and days to catch these terrorists before they are doing something. And that we are doing with the best technology in the world. We are doing it by cyber. We are doing it by forces, by risking the life of our soldiers, by working inside the Palestinian areas and outside the Palestinian areas, using the security barrier, and do a lot of things that we can do to fight the terror in general. And some of these things you have to find a way to the hearts of the people in the other side, that they will prevent their own people to go and commit suicide.
So, speaking of these methods, of these early preemptive methods of using Israel's intelligence networks, using the networks of checkpoints and the security barrier, and all the other electronic means that you just alluded to, Colonel, do you think that Israel could afford to drop the practice of home demolitions, or do you think that that one deterrent, that one aspect of our defense is creating a bulk of the deterrence?
I think that we can use it, but only in cases that we can be sure that we are not harming other people, do it in the right balance, and do it in the right places. It's not yes or no, it's yes, but. And the real thing
no, but I'm
is
saying
the but.
if Israel tomorrow, I'm saying if the Naftali Bennett government tomorrow said, we're done, we've heard the complaints and we've decided that, you know what, we're not going to do any more home demolitions. Do you think that the rate of terrorism would increase, or that Israel's preemptive defense capabilities, as you've described them, would be enough to keep the rate relatively the same?
We don't know. We are not in the hearts of these people. We are not in the heads of these people. And we cannot think in their way of thinking. We're trying to do our best. And this is one of the tools that we have.
All right, Ben Drol, final comments?
We do hope that terror will be completely defeated, but it's a dream, because we just watch what is going on in Africa nowadays, in Nigeria, in Congo, in other places, in Somalia, in Yemen. So terror is here with us, and just to remind us, it happens also in European countries without any occupation or whatever you call it. So it is with us, not because they are against the occupation, not because they want to control the world, because terror, people who are committing terror, they have dreams about the caliphate, the huge one. So the fight is a global fight. Israel is only small part of the big fight, and Israel is doing it successfully. Let's go on. I don't think that there will be a solution to the problem of places like Qatar that is promoting terror, and Al Jazeera that is promoting global jihad, or to Iran. Maybe it will come, but it's not going to be next week. Maybe in next year, but not next week.
All right, with that,
Amen.
Thank you so much, Colonel Dr. Danny Tirza and Attorney Ben Drol Yamini, for joining us. It's been my absolute pleasure to have you both. I'm Aaron Porras, and please, everybody watching, tune in next time on Insider for more on everything Israel. If there's a topic that you'd like us to cover next, let us know about it in the comment sections online. And finally, for more news from Israel, follow ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and our ILTV.tv channels. Thank you so much. Be well, and we'll see you soon.